Okay, so here we are for the epic, amazing information from Phaladipika about gemstones. Fairly controversial topic, perhaps, because as you probably know, I disagree with the application of the information in modern Indian astrology. Gems are treated as a magic way to kind of pay your way out of bad luck, which is just not effective. But it comes from this whole practice comes from the idea that gems are associated with planets. But don't forget, we've been talking about places associated with planets, living things, relationships associated with planets, genders associated with planets, relatives, parts of the bodies associated with planets. We've been talking about gods associated with planets, right? Psychology types like tempos. So there's many, many things that are associated with planets. It's not just gems. So through gems or through anything, you can increase your association or sensitivity to the things that the planet signifies. I'm not denying that. But the idea that this is the main way, the only way, is not accurate. It's not the main or only way to deal with luck that you don't like, bad luck. But anyway, let's hear about what Phaladipika has to say about gems. All that it says is the sun represents this gem, the moon represents that gem, etc. That's all it says. It doesn't say wear it on this finger, wear it on that finger. It doesn't say wear it if you have a debilitated sun or wear it if you have an exalted sun. It doesn't say wear it in this kind of metal or that kind of metal. It doesn't say wear it at all. It just says the sun represents this type of gem. Now, there's two purposes for this. There's three purposes. One is the rare purpose in which you might actually be wanting to get some information related to a gem. That's one. The second purpose of it is to help you understand the nature of the planet. If the planet is like a gem, then by understanding the gem, you can understand the planet. Amarsha, Paramarsha. Then the third thing is so you can proactively increase or decrease the association that you have with the planet. And this is the one that gets blown out of proportion and overly simplified and dumbed down. But what you'll do is if you take more of the planet's color in your life, for example, if you take more of the planet's relative, the kind of relative that they represent, siblings, if you bring your siblings more into your life, you'll get more in touch with your Mars. Genders, if you hang out with women, you'll get more in touch with the nature of the moon and Venus. If you and Rahu, polarities, flips. If you hang out with men, you'll get more in touch with the nature of Sun and Mars and Jupiter, a little bit. So, actually quite a lot, Jupiter. So, this is the way it is for everything. For everything, there's these three, everything that the Phaladipika is mentioning about the planets that has these three applications. One is the literal application. Maybe you want to ask, will I meet somebody who's wearing a ruby or a diamond? And maybe, or whatever, maybe for some reason your query has something to do with gems, then this information is useful. That's possibility number one. Case number one. Case number two in which this information is significant is, oh, I get it. The Saturn is like a sapphire. I get it. We can look at a sapphire and see what it's like, feel what it's like. That's case number 2. Case number 3, I want to be more like this planet, so let me take things associated with that planet more into my life. Okay? Any questions so far? Hi, Alf. Varuna is Varuna. Saturn maybe represents Varuna or something. The effect of propitiating the planets is, it's like propitiating a person. You develop a better relationship with them. Okay? All right, so let's hear what the gems are. Hopefully, see now, this is also the ugliness of YouTube. All the most important stuff I already said. And most of the viewers are coming in halfway through. So what to do? Anyway, here's what he says. He says the sun is like the ruby. The moon is like a pearl. And he gives some description about the pearl. It's like a gemstone quality pearl. Because pearls can just look like pebbles. But a gemstone pearl is the moon. Mars, coral. Mercury, emerald. Jupiter, topaz. Venus, diamond. Saturn, sapphire. Rahu is hessonite. And Ketu is cat's eye. I'll talk a little bit about these different things. But it's also interesting, when I was a kid, somehow I knew that my birthstone was ruby. Because I was born in July. I don't know, my parents told me that once or something. So this concept of planets being associated with gems comes even into New York Italian culture, by way of the planet who owns the sign that you're born in. The gem of that planet becomes your gem, and you should wear this gem. But the issue now is there's 2 signs per planet. So they'll have it like a secondary and alternative. And it's actually very easy and sensible to figure out other jewels besides these. When you think about the qualities of the jewels that make them be related to the planet that they're related to. So for example, start with the sun. The sun is a ruby. Why? It's so easy. The sun's color is deep red, orangish red. That's the color of the stone. It's basically very, very simple if you go through this list. The planet is represented by a stone that has the same color as it. It's that simple. And so if you want to think of other stones that could represent the sun, anything that's orangish red, deep red. Okay, but here he's talking about the precious stones. That's the category that he's talking about. Garnet. I remember this name, garnet, this word. I heard it also for the first time when I was a kid by learning about birthstones. And it also happened to be the name of a road in San Diego that was close to the Hare Krishna temple that I used to go to. So anyway, sun is ruby. Why? It's obvious. Ruby is red. Sun is red. Also, the ruby is heated. It's hot. It feels hot. And ruby is royal. Now, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Probably some astrologer says the sun is ruby, so kings should have rubies. Probably that's it. It's the simplest thing is simply the color. The moon, a pearl. It's obvious the color for the moon is white. The moon symbolizes the white color. The pearl is the white gem. It's that simple. There's other things about it too that are also very interesting. It's from the ocean. Also, it's from inside something. It's inside a clam. So that's interesting. The moon is the pearl. Mars, coral. What's coral? The word for coral in Sanskrit means like something that the earth, a child of the earth. This coral is basically a stone, or it looks like a stone. So it looks more like a rock, coral, than the rest of the things. And the name for Mars in Vedic astrology is Kuja or Bhauma, which means child of the earth. Coral also is just simply, it has the red color. Coral tends to be red, like Mars. But also the name of the coral in Sanskrit means earthborn. And the name for Mars is earthborn. The child of earth is Mars. The child of earth is coral. So it's quite simple. So really, it's not just coral, but it's all sorts of rocks. Mars is like the rocks. It's not really precious gem, is it? Mars is not. And this, like I said, the second use for this information, the first use is some weird case where you actually want to know something specific about a jewel. The second use is to learn about the planets. And the third use is to proactively increase or decrease your relationship with the planets. You can learn about the planet by learning what jewel it's like. Mars is like a rock. Out of the precious stones, Mars is like a coral. Well, it's not so precious. Mars is not very precious. Mars is more just blunt and brute. It's not very refined. Mars is power, not refinement. Then you have Mercury. Mercury is emerald. Again, that's just the simplest thing. It just comes down to the color. Mercury is greenish planet. I don't know if it's greenish in your telescope, but it's greenish in astrology. It signifies the green color. Its color is green, according to the astrologers. So the jewel that it will represent is green jewel, which is emerald. And another name for emerald, a name for emerald in Sanskrit is Garuda, or Garuda, which is Vishnu's carrier. So Mercury is related to Vishnu. Mercury is related to emerald, because emerald is related to Vishnu, related to Garuda, who's Vishnu's carrier. Jupiter now is topaz. So this clarifies things. Some people have many different things about Jupiter. Sapphire, what kind of sapphire? Something yellow sapphire. It's topaz. Jupiter's topaz. And again, it's just the color. Topaz has a brownish saffrony color. That's Jupiter's color. What about citrine? What about the other planet? If it's got the same basic color, it's basically the same. So yes. Right? But the one that he's specifically pointing out as the precious version of that color crystal is topaz. Venus diamond. What does this tell you about Venus? Well, first of all, what color is a diamond? It's clear, yet it's full of colors. That's Venus. Venus is very clear and natural. Venus is natural beauty. Venus is not artificial makeup and beauty. Venus is natural beauty. Makeup enough to enhance, but not to cover or fake. So that's Venus. It's a clear diamond. Inside the clarity of the diamond are rainbows. That's Venus's color. It's a perfectly Venus's color. That's called Chitra. That color is called Chitra. So Venus's gem is a diamond. Also, the diamond is the most expensive of all these. Venus is the highest luxury planet. Diamond is probably also the hardest one of all these two. Venus is the most impervious, which is very interesting when you consider that Venus is love and it's not Mars. Venus is actually more impervious than Mars, more undefeatable than Mars. If there's a Graha Yud between Venus and Mars, Venus wins. Very interesting. Sapphire for Saturn. Nil means dark, so the dark stone. Nila money is sapphire, the dark stone. Saturn's stone is the dark one, because Saturn is dark. Sapphire is deep blue, black. That's Saturn's color. So really, the takeaway from all this is it's very simple. The color of the planet matches the color of the jewel. So you don't even really have to spend thousands of dollars to buy colorful jewels. You can just buy clothes that have the same color. Or you can just paint your walls with a certain color to do your Graha Shanti and your Upaya and all that stuff. Oh, and we're not done because for some reason he does mention Rahu and Ketu. These guys are similar to Mars in that their precious stone is not really a precious stone. Even the precious stone is a semi-precious stone. Rahu is Hessonite. The nature of Hessonite is that it's not shiny. It's a bit transparent, but it's not shiny. It's very smoky and rough. It's called resinous. It's a resinous jewel. So it's bumpy and rough. It's not shiny. This is the nature of Rahu. It's rough and smoky. It's translucent, but not transparent, like the other gems. And similar with Mars, also, the name of the stone is an important part of why it's connected to the planet. For Mars, the case, the name for coral is born from the earth. The name for Mars is born from the earth. The name for Rahu's stone is Gomed. Gomed means to kill an animal. Like, of course, the word Gomed means this stone, but if the parts of the word Gomed mean go, means an animal, an innocent animal, a herbivorous animal, like a cow, gao, go. Med means to destroy or harm. So somebody who hurts animals or kills animals is Gomedi. So Rahu is barbaric. Rahu is barbaric and violent. So his stone is Gomed, the animal killer. Similarly, if you kill animals needlessly, you'll be associating more Rahu to your life. Ketu. Ketu's is cat's eye, which is one of the most amazing stones. My dad had a cat's eye ring, and I thought it was cool. It was a brown cat's eye ring. Maybe they're called tiger's eye. I don't know if they're different stones. But again, it's a stone. It's not the same kind of crystal as rubies and emeralds and diamonds and sapphires. It's a stone, but it's a very rare stone. It's a very fascinating stone. It does look like a snake's eye when you cut it. But again, here the word is very interesting. The name for the cat's eye stone in Sanskrit is Vaidurya. And the meaning of the word Vaidurya means to not have dhira. Means to not have patience. And it also means not to have love. To be without affection and to be without patience is to be Vaidurya. So that's the nature of Ketu. The nature of Ketu is, first of all, very impatient. It's very instantaneous, Ketu. It's explosive and instantaneous. And secondly, it's very desolate planet or astrological planet. Ketu is desolate. It's lonely. It's alienated. It's withdrawn. It's non-interactive. And hence, this name of the stone that's connected with it is the Vaidurya. All right, so these are the stones. In most cases, it's a simple thing of this color, this planet has this color, therefore it has this stone. Rahu also is just smoky. The Hessonite color has varieties of browns to it and always smoky and rough. And that's Rahu's color. Ketu's color is always some kind of mysterious thing. And so the cat's eye has this mysteriousness to the color of it. But in 3 cases, in 3 or 4 cases, the name for the thing, the name of the jewel is also kind of part of the reason why it's associated to the planet. The cases are Mars, Rahu, and Ketu. Any questions about the jewel stuff? Amazing. Thank you, Char. I almost called you Char Chandra. Thank you, Om. That's funny. It's Mercury's green because it's young, so it's still green. It's also Mercury is a very weak green. So really, an ideal sapphire for Mercury will be a light sapphire, not a dark sapphire. You have to think an ideal ruby, like, because there's variations in the jewels. An ideal ruby for the sun is not really going to be like a maroon colored ruby, but it's going to be the more orangish version. An ideal Hessonite for Rahu would be not so orangey, more brown. Thank you, Bardo. I don't know, everybody's feeling generous because we're talking about stones. Sorry for stuttering. I also always thought this was pretty ridiculous, the way that people deal with gems. They'll come to an astrologer and complain that the astrologer wants $100 or something for the reading. Then they'll ask the astrologer what ring they should buy, and then they'll go out and spend $2,000 on the ring. It's like the ring is much less valuable than the reading. Don't you get it? That's right, Nicola. Amarsha Paramarsha means by knowing one thing, you can know another if the two things are related. So one purpose of telling us what gem a planet represents is so that you can get to understand with less words but more intuition what the planet is about. Because you can look at a gem and see what it feels like and what the color, and the color really is what tells you everything. Color and the texture of the gem. How would you decrease your relationship with the planet by knowing its gem? You don't make sure you don't wear the gem. Not a big deal. For some things, it's really gems. You don't have tons of them around you all the time. I don't think. If you do, send some here. You don't really have too many around you all the time, so it's not a big deal to try to decrease your association with this gem. Maybe you would realize, like, oh wow, actually, I've been constantly wearing this. It's probably not going to be like this. Oh wow, I've been constantly wearing the sapphire, but I really don't want so much Saturniness in my life. I mean, maybe that may happen, but I doubt it, because usually you'll be inherently drawn to like the gem that's associated to your strongest planet. So not in all cases do we have the option to get away from the thing, but in other cases we do. Is Jupiter topaz because the actual planet is brown and orange? No. Well, I don't know what the planets look like through a telescope. I don't care. We don't look at them through telescopes in astrology. The planets have a symbolism. They symbolize colors. And that's a very deep symbolism because color has a lot of meaning to it. And because they symbolize certain colors, they therefore symbolize certain stones that have those colors. So for example, the sun symbolizes deep orange. Is it deep orange in the sky? Some sort of. Maybe it's white. Maybe it's yellow. Maybe it's red. But it symbolizes deep orange. The moon symbolizes paleness and whiteness. Is it that color? Yes. Coincidence. Mars is red. Is it that color? Yes. Venus is multicolored. Is it that color? Yes. Not through a telescope, but when you look at it, it sparkles the most out of any star. And it has hues around it because of the sparkliness. What's another planet? Saturn. Is it dark? It is. Not on a telescope. Is it dark? No. With your eye, when you look at it in the sky, is it dark? Yes. That's why it signifies dark colors, which are blues and blacks. Mercury, does it look green? Not really, but it's like yellowy. Yellowy green. Why? Because it's always near the sun. Is it that color in a telescope? No, it's that color astrologically when you look at it from the Earth. So Venus is iridescent, not white? Correct. Moon is white. Maybe you can comment later on a concept of colors associated with nakshatras. I don't know about that. Opal is like diamond, right? It has rainbow flecks in it too. Yeah, I love opal, but I think opal... See, then why not be smart? Why be dumb? Why not be smart? So if you realize like opal is like a diamond, but it's also like a pearl, then you realize that there's not just planets in isolation. There's planets in conjunction and mutual and aspects and all that sort of stuff. And so that could be signified in certain gems too. Like an opal is like a diamond pearl with a bit of coral to it. That's what I would say about that kind of stuff. I happen to... My mom had opal stuff. My parents were pretty cool. My dad had cat's eye stuff, tiger's eye stuff, and my mom had opal stuff that I thought were great. I didn't care about their diamonds or whatever. I like the opal. For Saturn, can you use any dark stone? Yeah, but if you want to use the precious stone, then get a dark sapphire. Where was I? You can get topaz in many colors. You can get most of these jewels in many colors. So like Marie says, I think you can get topaz in blue and aquamarine. Topaz. The color of the topaz can vary. The color of any stone can vary. You should get one that's close to the color of the planet. The natural color for topaz is brownish. Yeah, golden brown. Like Jupiter's natural color. Someone said it's dangerous to wear cat's eye. Of course, if the cat's eye signifies Ketu, Ketu is a dangerous planet. Is it not dangerous to enhance the amount of Ketu in your life? You better be prepared to deal with that. Same thing to wear coral. What about metals? Yes, the name for the class today is gems, metals, grains, and clothes. So we're not done yet. Implosive, explosive, same thing. K2. Max Fernandez, is it true that subgems of planets can be assigned to more than one planet? See, now you're just getting into this whole thing. Subgems of planets. So we didn't hear anything about subgems. We just heard about gems. Prescribed on a certain finger. That's not mentioned. I don't know when it started or when it came up. Or maybe we'll find it when we study, but I haven't found it. So I can't comment. What's my gemstone? Somebody's asking. Just figure it out. What do you need more of? What do you want less of? Then figure out your gemstones accordingly. All right. men, Nicola, I wonder why rappers love Venus. Why do men like women? Okay. All right. So now let's move on and talk about metals. This is also going to be an eye-opener. This list of jewels, I think it's fairly uncontested. Maybe the Jupiter topaz was the only one. That was a bit atypical. But now the metals, it's not going to be what you've heard, probably. So for the metals, he says, sun is copper. Sun is copper. I don't know, everybody, all the gemologists or whatever in astrology have been telling me sun is gold. It might be because copper is cheap. I don't know. I don't want to say something mean. But sun is copper. Tamra. Sun's copper, and then the moon, it's not silver. It's something cheaper than silver. It's something called bell metal. What's bell metal? Bell metal literally is the metal that you make bells out of. That's why it's called bell metal. What is it? It's copper mixed with something. It's a copper alloy. Usually it's mixed with tin or something silvery. So the sun is copper and the moon is copper mixed with something else. It's the same. It's very, very natural. The sun is the source of light. The moon is the sunlight, just bouncing off of something else. Why is the sun copper? Copper is the same color as the sun. That's really what it boils down to. Copper is that orangish metal. And it's the basic metal. You'll see. Okay, so sun is copper, moon is another version of copper, and then Mars is another version of copper. So sun is just regular copper, moon is copper alloy, called bell metal, and then Mars is dhatu tamra, which is copper ore, unrefined copper. So again, it's the purpose of learning this. The second purpose is to learn about the planet. Mars is not refined. Do not try to associate with Mars things if you want to be an artist, if you want to be careful, if you want to be tactful or detailed. Mars is not for you. Go to Mars if you want to have the power to knock something down. Go to Mars if you want to have the power to beat something. Go to Mars if you want to be able to kill or destroy something, or ignore something, or blast through something. That Mars will be good. So Mars's stone is a stone. Mars's metal is an ore. It's not a refined planet. It's a blunt planet. So sun copper, moon is copper alloy, Mars is copper ore. Now the rest of the planets are not copper. There are other things. Mercury is lead. And Saturn is iron. What's lead? Iron is pretty obvious, so let's just talk about lead for a second. The properties of lead. Lead is the most malleable metal. It's the easiest to make something out of is lead. So the ancient Romans, they made metal things out of lead because it's the easiest to conquer. Similarly, this is the nature of Mercury, is it's the most bendable, it's the most flexible. And so the metal which is the most flexible signifies Mercury. Metal is not terribly flexible, but the most flexible metal is Mercury's metal, lead. It's useful, it can be made into many different kinds of shapes very easily. Okay, so that's Mercury. Mercury can change its, adapt, can change its shape very easily. and Mercury is easily changed, easily adjusted, easily shifted. And that's what lead is. And then Saturn is iron. So iron is the simplest brute. It's like Mars now again. It's just a brute metal. It doesn't have qualities to it that are pretty. It's just really strong. Iron is the basis for steel. Steel is the basis for all of our modern construction. Iron, before they perfected steel, iron was also the basis for all of the serious construction. And the basis for anything that you really wanted to be strong was iron. And so that's Saturn's quality right there. It's not pretty. It's not precious, but it's strong. It'll last. It can hold a lot of weight. If you try to make a chain and you make it out of copper, you better not be trying to chain something very strong. If you make it out of bell metal or copper or lead, it's easy to break that chain. If you make the chain out of iron, you can keep elephants chained up with that. And that's how strong iron is. That's how strong Saturn is. So Sun copper, Moon copper alloy, Mars copper ore, Saturn iron, Mercury lead. That leaves us with Jupiter and Venus. Jupiter is gold, Venus is silver. Any questions about the metals? Is the liquid metal mercury ever mentioned in the Vedic context? Yes. And it was not mentioned as being representative of Mercury. But yeah, they know about that. Okay, let's go on to this other one. He also talks about the clothing. And he says simply that here he actually literally says this is just based on the colors. So again, most of this stuff is just based on the colors. And then just adds a few things. Sun wears orange clothes. So if you feel like you don't have enough decisiveness, authority, you don't get along well with authorities, and you want to like face that and deal with that, then expose yourself to orange. Get a lot of orange into your life. It's simple. If moon is white, moon wears white clothes. If you want to have more of the qualities of moon, which is really a shy type of honesty, a directness, but not like a quiet type of directness, then wear white. Also, the nature of the moon being white is the easiest thing to write on. White is the easiest thing to put a drawing or a word on. Similarly, the moon is the substrate for all of your samskar. The manas is the substrate for all the samskar that we have in life. So another signification of wearing white means write on me. I'm receptive. I'm receptive. If you want to be more receptive, then wear more white. If you want to be more commanding, then get some orange in there. Mars wears red clothes. But there's another quality, special quality. The sun's clothes are also reddish, like a burnt orange. Mars's clothes are also reddish, but the difference is that Mars likes to wear clothes that are worn out or that have some sort of scar on them. And the reason for this is that Mars is not refined. Mars is not pretty. Mars does things. So the clothes of Mars are going to show that Mars is busy. Mars works. Mars goes out and explores. So it's going to have scratches on it. It's going to have maybe rips, or it's going to be worn out. It might be burnt. It might be singed. It might have frayed edge. Mars doesn't throw away those clothes. He likes those clothes. So this is a bit of like the ripped jeans type of thing. It's a bit Marsy to have clothes that are worn. Acid wash jeans. Clothes that don't look new. And you're buying them from a store, but they are like artificially made to look like they're not new. It's kind of like a Mars aesthetic. Now, Mercury's clothes will be a muted yellow color, like a greenish yellow color, not a bright yellow, and superb. So if you want to enhance Mercury by way of how you dress, make sure you dress well. Make sure your clothes are clean. Make sure that they're tucked properly. Make sure that they're tied properly. Make sure that they're buttoned properly. Make sure that they're ironed. That's Mercury's type of clothing. And it's the color that it likes to wear is like a light yellow. A modest yellow. Jupiter, brownish yellow. But this is an inference because it wasn't actually, for some reason he skipped it. But elsewhere, we've seen that there's a brownish yellow, which is similar to the pollen from lotus flower. It's called saffron. So this saffron yellow is Jupiter's color. Venus, if you want more Venus in your life, you wear clothes that are colorful and beautiful. So clothes that have patterns on them, clothes that have design, intricate clothes. That's Venus. And for Saturn, the clothes are dark, dirty, and ripped. So there's really like the punk rock kind of clothing. Dirty clothing, ripped clothing, black color. So the emo kind of fashion, the punk kind of fashion. Punk is a bit more like Saturn mixed with Mars. Emo is more like just pure Saturn. So everybody should know that the way you dress affects the way you feel. You should know that, right? I mean, that's the reason why sadhus wear sadhu clothes. That's the reason why when you go out to a party, you dress up. Because clothes affect the way you feel. Now, here's a little bit of an opportunity to have a science behind it. Clothes affect how you feel. If you want to feel more like the way Venus feels, then dress the way Venus would dress. If you want to feel more like the way Mars would feel, if you need to feel more like the way Mars would feel, then dress the way Mars would dress. Just be smart. If you're smart, then you can use this information really well all the time. And if you're not smart, then it just goes in one ear and out the other, or you expect it to be some kind of magic formula, and some pundit Swami somewhere is going to tell you, put a pearl on a bell metal ring, put it in your left finger, then stick it in the water, and take it out and say Om Namah. It's not like that. It's for you to become thoughtful and understand. Those are the clothes. And then finally today, we also translated the bit about the food. Food that's signified by each planet. Specifically, the kind of grain. Grain is the basis for food. Really, the word meat actually means grain. Meat means the main thing. And so grain is really supposed to be the meat. So when the astrologer Phaladipika's author Mantreshwar talks about how the planets relate to food, first of all, he talks about how they relate to grains. Because grain is the basic food. So here, the grains for the planet. This is also really interesting for those three reasons. Maybe for some weird reason, you need to make a decision about what kind of grain is going to show up at your wedding or something. The guy who comes forward, the guy who orders a certain kind of food at a restaurant. I mean, maybe there's some weird way that this could actually be literally useful in an interpretation. That's rare. The main thing is amarsha, paramarsha, or inference. You'll understand more about the planet by understanding something you know, like a grain. And the third thing is, what is it? Yeah, you can be proactive about how you increase your association with the planet and the thing the planet signifies. So similarly, you can adjust your diet. What kind of foods you eat will increase or decrease your exposure to that kind of planet. So the two basic grains are represented by the sun and the moon. The two most common grains are the sun and the moon. The two most common grains are what? Wheat and rice. It says, which one is the moon? I hope you don't think it's wheat, because I've been telling you the whole time that it's all about color. Wheat is a golden brown and rice is white. So the moon is rice and the sun is wheat. Furthermore, look at rice. It's great. Actually, they just planted rice here in Japan. So what they had to do was they dammed the rivers, then they pulled the water off the river and they push it off into all the fields. And then once all the fields are flooded, they stick the rice grass in there. So the nature of rice, first of all, is very, very wet. It's very watery. And so it's like the moon. And if you eat rice, it will increase your moon, which means it will give you more kapha in Ayurvedic, which means it will give you more flesh. And it will give you more tissue and moisture in your body, which is very healthy. If you eat wheat predominantly, you'll get more bile or pitta, because it's more, wheat is more of a creation of the sun. It's not so associated with wetness. You'll get more bile, you'll get more fire, which can be good if you need it, if you need more energy. So adjust your diet accordingly. The sun is the wheat is the sun's green. If you want more fire, if you want more confidence, then eat wheat. Rice is the moon's grain. If you want more health, and if you want more beauty, eat rice. If you look up all of the beauty form secrets, the original things before L'Oreal and whatever those guys are, it all is about rice. You just make different mixtures with rice and stick it in your hair, stick it on your skin, and it's better than buying all that stuff from all those expensive cosmetics manufacturers. Rice, 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 rice. If you want health and beauty, just rice. Not only eat it, just do everything with it. Now, so that's the two planets, sun and moon, wheat and rice. Then the next pair that's mentioned is Saturn and Jupiter. Jupiter's grain is chickpeas. I love chickpeas. Saturn's grain is sesame. I also love sesame. These guys are mentioned in a pair. Contrast the two. Chickpeas are big, round things. They're huge, round things. That are what color? Golden brown. Sesame is these tiny, thin things that have a lot of oil in them. And what color are they? Black. You can get brown ones too. But sesame is one grain that comes in black. So also I have a theory that because Saturn is thin and Jupiter is fat, and if you need to gain weight, it's like similar with rice and wheat. The same thing will happen. If you're more interested in losing weight, which is not always healthy, and I don't recommend it always, but if you're interested in losing weight, then you probably want to veer towards wheat and especially sesame. Eat sesame, use sesame oil, etc. If you want to increase your body, increase the fat, increase the curviness of it, then go towards rice and chickpea. It will even build muscle in males, chickpea. Because chickpea is Jupiter, Jupiter's increase. Sesame is Saturn, Saturn is decrease. Now, the next pair that he mentions for some reason is Ketu and Mars. Ketu has a grain, and it's called horse grain. Basically, it's animal feed. But you can eat it also. Humans can eat it also. So Ketu is a very low-class grain. And then Mars, it's lentil. The red lentil. Oh, the red lentil. The red lentil is healthy because beans are difficult to digest. Grains and beans are difficult to digest compared to leaves and roots. So the lentil has within it a lot of digestive power. So it's a very healthy bean to eat. Red lentil is called dal, but there's very different varieties of dal, but the dal is red lentil. And it's one of my, I don't know, this is weird. Here I really like Mars because I like red lentil. But I'll tell you what, I will definitely take chickpea, sesame, rice, and wheat. God, I'll eat them all. I like them all. I like grains. But maybe I do like red lentil, but I think I like those other four more. Horse gram I've never had. Now Mercury and Venus are mentioned. Mercury is a bean called mung, and I didn't look forever, but I didn't find an English name for the mung dal. Mung bean. They tend to call it mung bean in English too. The mung bean is also very delicious. Makes great soups. Mung is green. That's as simple as that. The color of the planet. Take anything that has that color and that thing represents that planet. Of grains, the green one is Mercury. The white one is Moon. The brownish one is Jupiter. And there's also other qualities like the thinness or the fatness of it. So I would say Mercury is also, I would say mung dal is probably very, very good for balancing your health. It's probably the safest bean to eat. Venus is this very interesting one. It's called it's a hyacinth bean. We don't hear about this much. I don't know if I ever ate this, but I researched it. The hyacinth bean has all kinds of different colors. It comes in all different, sometimes it's in a purple pod, sometimes it's in a yellow pod, sometimes it's in a green pod. It has all different kinds of colors. So that's probably the reason why it's associated to Venus. Also, it's a flowers bean, hyacinth flowers bean. Maybe. And then finally, Rahu's bean is mentioned as urad dal. Surprisingly good. But this, if anybody who knows what urad is, it's black bean. So really, basically, I'm talking about legumes and grains. You basically just go with the color. Both Saturn and Rahu have black color grains, but Saturn's is small and thin. Venus is multicolored. Mercury is green, Mars is red. Ketu is kind of brownish and mostly used for animals. Jupiter's chickpea, moon rice, sun wheat. And that's that. Any questions? Why would anyone, Bardo asks, associate with a particular graha, single out a particular graha to associate with if we have all of them influencing us anyway? It's so simple. What if you feel like, I wish I was more artistic? Then get yourself some hyacinth beans, get yourself some diamonds or something that looks like a diamond, wear some clothes that are more intricate and color and patterned, and you will become more artistic. I wish I had more of the quality. If you just think to yourself, I wish I had more of X qualities, then all you have to do is learn which planet signifies those qualities. Then the things that signify that planet, associate more with it. And not just in this kind of magical way of like remote things like planets and gems, but in practical ways. Mars, you want to have more Mars? Play a sport. That's what Mars does. You want to be more artistic? Listen to music. That's what Venus does. So everybody has the planets, but not everybody has all the planets influencing them. But not everybody has all the planets influencing them in a healthy balance. In fact, very few people have all the planets influencing them in a healthy balance. So most people have to take some steps, proactive steps, to balance themselves out. Mung bean ice cream. Oh, I never heard that. All right. So that's that very interesting thing about gems, metals, clothes, and grains. And let me show you one more time. Phaladipika, we're in the second chapter. It's talking about this weird stuff. Is it ever going to tell me how to read a chart? Yes. So I'll just remind you about this new reading that I just completed. So I just completed this Houses of Life, which is putting the 15th chapter of Phaladipika into practice. So this is basically, if you're into Phaladipika, you can see what Phaladipika would say about your houses if you get this report. So here on the screen it's showing the Houses of Life. It's showing the report for Elizabeth Taylor. So this is available now. I've worked on this for 6 months. These are the contents that are in it. The 4 basic sections. You even get a tech appendix, which goes into pretty thorough detail about the technique. And then you get, like this is Elizabeth Taylor. Look at her first house. It's like 124% positivity. Like more than 100% positivity. And then her 2 worst houses is marriage and sexuality. It's so funny. So like this, and this makes it easier to see what are the strongest and weakest. And I'm going to do some videos with Prisa where we're going to talk about how to use this information. The 8th and the 7th house, obviously, for Elizabeth Taylor, are not unseen houses. They're very prominent houses in Elizabeth Taylor. She's very sexy, and marriage was a huge part of her life. So all of the houses that are shown here, 1, 8, and 7, are very prominent for Elizabeth Taylor. But 8 and 7 are prominent in a way that's kind of difficult for her, where 1, or not really working out. But 1 is prominent in a way that comes easy and natural to her. That's the difference between the left green side and the right red side. Here we go. She has also some very interesting her code, right? So I give a DNA code based on the order of the houses. Each person, there's I think 479 different codes, 479 million different codes possible. Each person has a different one. Hers is very interesting. 1524 are really, and if you look up here, you can see like these guys, 1, 5, 12, 2, 4 are really, really positive. And 12 is thrown in there. It's very interesting. To understand how she's got this creativity about fantasy. With 1524 also, you get a 1524 person is so beautiful. And then the 12 thing gets thrown in there after 5. It's interesting. It's kind of like fantasy gets mixed in there. So anyway, this is what the new report looks like. You can see the URL on the screen right now. That's where you can go if you want to order one of these. I break each house, then I break down into its sub. Her bar pushed off the right side of the screen because it's too big. breaks down the subtopics within each house and scores them separately because you can combine houses. Like, for example, identity is not just the first house, but it also depends on the sun, and then the 12th house can play a negative role in it. And now you see she has a union between Jupiter and the sun, Jupiter being the first lord. So the lord of the first house joined with the sun is important. And then the negative planet for identity is Saturn. So you could see those here in this identity factors thing. Each house has these subtopics, and each subtopic has these factors that are involved in scoring it. This is not from Phaladipika. This is from Dietary. But the basic house scores and the scores for the planets are verbatim, literally, the application of all the rules in Phaladipika. All right? Yeah, so then there's this for every house. And then at the end of all this, you get your topics. Yeah, see, the topics now get treated separately. So here you can see the topics without them being grouped into houses just on their own. These are her strongest topics, her weakest topics. But again, weak doesn't mean not present. It means prominent and present, but in a way that's troubling or unfulfilling. A list of all the topics for her. And then the technical appendix, which shows how the calculations are done. So go ahead and treat yourself to a lovely reading. You can go to victorcara.com and then click on readings, and then you'll wind up there. All right, everybody. I'll see you in 2 days for more of the tale of the citizen in the city. Thank you very much. Yes, you were. Liberty.